In this daily drop, I'm going to give you my initial thoughts on the just announced Fujifilm GFX Eterna. So let's go. Okay, everybody, here I am again in the barn, episode 323 of the Daily Drop, and a lot of stuff going on here, including a lot of tabletop production. And this morning, kind of out of left field, a brand new camera was announced, which will be coming in 2025, which will be previewed and we'll find out more about at Interb 2024, which is just in a day or two. In fact, I think when you start watching this on November 13th, we will start to find out more information. There's a press release right now. There are a couple of images. NEWSSHOOTER.com has a little article about the camera, and I'm just going to give you some initial thoughts here. Now, well, first of all, I have a lot of history with Fuji, as you can see here. Quite a number of camera bodies. These are all X-mount, X-T3, X-T4, Fujifilm X100 V or 5, and the, sort of the, I would say, flagship, at least for a hybrid camera in their line, which is the XH2S. So, what is this Fujifilm GFX Eterna? If you're not familiar, Fujifilm makes cameras with APS-C sensors. They also make cameras with medium format, much larger than full-frame 35mm sensors. So this is what the Fujifilm GFX Eterna is going to be based on. Not this platform, but it's going to be a platform that is going to be based on, or the basis of the camera system is going to be based on the GFX 100 Mark II and that processor that's inside of that camera. If you take a look at the camera body, though, we're getting into a box-style camera, which generally will give you a lot of flexibility in terms of build-outs. And the information that I'm waiting to find out is what, besides what I can see in these images, is going to be included with this camera. This being the first digital cinema camera from Fujifilm, there are a lot of questions to be answered, but I personally think that this is the right way to go for the company. They could have chosen the X-mount platform and gone with APS-C. They don't do full-frame 35mm base sensors, but it makes a lot more sense for them to go down the lane of a medium format base sensor rather than go with this, because it's a very crowded market right now in APS-C and in full frame 35mm. So there's a few things to talk about here. Number one is, what will this camera system cost? And there is no answer to that question right now, but the GFX 100 Mark II costs approximately $7,500 US. So we can sort of probably glean from that the camera is going to cost more than $7,500 US. But how much more? And the other question has to do with glass, with lenses, because there are not nearly as many medium format lenses out there on the market. They have announced that they are going to be coming out with a power zoom that's going to have an equivalent focal length of 32 to 90 millimeters. And it's really the opposite of what we look at when we look at an APS-C camera using lenses, where if you put a, let's just say 35mm lens on an APS-C camera, we would be getting a closer to equivalent of, let's say, a 50mm field of view compared to 35mm full frame. Well, it's the opposite with medium format, because the sensor is approximately 1.7 times the size of a 35mm full frame sensor. So that means it's even bigger. I don't know the math on that. I don't know if it's 2.5x or closer. It's so much bigger than APS-C. And the lenses then would actually be longer focal lengths, and then we're going to see a wider field of view when we're talking about 35 millimeter full frame equivalent. So it's going to be really interesting. Now, what's even more interesting at this time is, and again, the other question is how many other medium format lenses are there going to be besides what they already have in terms of primes, what other zooms are going to come out to the market. But what's really interesting is we have one other camera coming to market that has a similar sensor size, and that is the Blackmagic Design Cine 17K 65 millimeter sensor or camera system with that sensor. And so now we start to look at digital cinema cameras with much larger sensors than 35 millimeter full frame. And we are starting to see the sort of the beginning of what I'm going to say is a digital IMAX format. It doesn't mean it hasn't existed before. We have had for instance, GFX100, GFX100 Mark II, the GFX50. These are all medium format mirrorless cameras from Fujifilm. So those could be considered IMAX in your pocket. But now we're looking at a platform or a camera system that is really for digital cinema. And so we'll see gen lock and time code, and hopefully we'll see built-in neutral density filters and other functionality that we would not be getting out of their smaller mirrorless cameras, which are kind of a marvel anyway in terms of stuff. So I don't know what else to say here except for the fact that I'm excited. I have been talking to Fuji and other people about them making a digital cinema camera for a long time. And again, the question was, were they going to go with the smaller sensor, APS-C/Super 35 millimeter sensor, or go forward with this medium format sensor? And I think this is the right way for them to go. It would have been super cool if they had an interchangeable sensor system. But, you know, I think the only growing pain here when it comes to this new camera is going to be the lenses. Because, again, there's not a lot of people out there who have medium format lenses, and especially in G mount. They will be doing a G to PL mount adapter, and then I'm assuming in those situations, because PL mount lenses are generally not designed for sensors that are 1.7 times the size of a 35 millimeter sensor. I'm assuming there's going to be crop modes that are going to allow you to use those lenses effectively. But it's that Cine 17K 65 millimeter and this new Fujifilm GFX Eterna that I'm really interested in. Where does the price point come in? Because for the Cine 17K, we're looking in the $30,000 price range, which for Blackmagic Design is a whole different price point for them in terms of their cameras. The 12K, I believe, is coming in same camera body as a 17K at around 15 grand. So you're at about double that for the 17K, and probably rightfully so. If you look at an Alexa 65, I mean, that's in a different category entirely in terms of price point. But how much will this Fujifilm GFX Eterna be? What additional features will we see? I'm excited to find out. I will be keeping my eye out on NEWSSHOOTER.com and Fuji's website and everything else to find out more information as Interb happens. Those are my initial thoughts on the Fujifilm GFX Eterna. Love to hear your thoughts in the comments about this new camera that's coming in 2025. Don't forget to, and I'll see you on the next episode of The Daily Drop.